everyone, welcome to Caffeine Podcast and Videos, and I'm still stuck on Teutonic Order and the Teutonic race because I've just never heard of it and I'm really intrigued by the history of it. So I'm back to that point again, and I was really disappointed in my last video to learn that they were, some kind of order, which would perhaps mean Freemasons and the like, and they were definitely related somehow to the Holy Roman Empire, which I don't have any trust in. So that was really disappointing from my perspective, and I'm just looking at it from when it was active, which was 1190, which was 100 years after the Norman invasion, and this is where the Teutonic Order has extended to. That was in 1260, so 100 years after it was set up. There's the Holy Roman Empire there, which seems to be unrelated with regards to this map, which is a bit confusing, but maybe it's just my interpretation. And I wanted to look into whether the Teutonic Order was an order of itself, like it was a genuine order of Freemasonry or whatever it was, or was it set up in resistance to those people who had existed under their Anglo-Saxon beliefs, had now been invaded by the Normans, and so perhaps it could have been a demoralisation effort, and we see that quite a lot today. So it's not something necessarily made up in my head. This is demoralisation warfare does exist, and it is intended to demoralise and make people ashamed of who they are and embarrassed. We see that all the time because we apparently are Western society. In the UK, we apparently, according to many people in the media and in leadership roles, we have no culture. Of course we do have a culture, but we're just not allowed to talk about it. And whenever we do talk about it, we only talk about negative sides of those sorts of things. And we barely know anything about the Anglo-Saxons because apparently nothing is known, apart from they made mud huts or whatever it was that they did. So there seems to be there is this reality of psychological warfare, there is demoralisation within it, and morale is often perceived as a necessary precursor to success in international relations. Success most often goes to those who believe in their cause, as they more easily maintain a positive outlook that helps them work harder for it. So if there's a lot of morale surrounding Anglo-Saxons right after a Norman invasion, then it would be handy to humiliate and degrade those people who had that morale and prove them to be quite a brutal bunch if they had been peaceful, that is, which I'm thinking they could have been. They may not have been, but they could have been very peaceful people. And so then it would go in the favour of the Normans, who had just invaded and changed their monetary system, and I'll show you I'll provide you with a link for that video. But if they've just changed their tally stick system into a new monetary system after they've brought over, invited the Jews who changed it, and obviously they didn't exist in the UK beforehand and there was a very different monetary system, then obviously it goes without saying that they need to demoralise this tribe. And that's what I'm looking at today. I'm not saying that it's the case, I'm just questioning whether it could have been. Because also, and I've gone over this, there was Anglo-Saxonism in the 19th century. I believe that it will probably start again soon because they're already at them. They're already saying Anglo-Saxons, is, they're placing the racist word next to it. So I'm just curious really what it is that happened with the Teutonic Order. Why was it set up? Was it set up in response to the Norman invasion and to sort of tell other people around the world, you know, that they are a great tribe and, you know, believe in us and all that? Or was it an effort to demoralise? Or did it start off as a good order and then became a demoralisation order? I don't know, I haven't looked into it, but these are just questions which I'm curious about because it was set up in the first place. And that's something that, you know, these sorts of things are set up for a reason, so I'm wondering what the reason was. Anglo-Saxonism, and I suspect that this will rise at some point in the future. Anglo-Saxonism is a cultural belief system developed by British and American intellectuals, politicians and academics in the 19th century. Racialised Anglo-Saxonism contained both competing and intersecting doctrines such as Victorian era Old Northernism and the Teutonic germ theory, which it relied upon in appropriating Germanic cultural and racial origins for the Anglo-Saxon race. So I'm just wondering if perhaps Anglo-Saxonism is what the far right follow and believe in. It could be. And is it a problem? Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, they, you know, if people are allowed to have their Black History Month, then why shouldn't people have Anglo-Saxonism as their curiosities and cultural admirations and stuff like that? People are related to ancestors, you know, people do have ancestors who were Anglo-Saxons and Celts, and I've said this as a Welsh person, it really irritates me that the Welsh get to speak their language and the English don't. I think that's so unfair. An important racial belief system in the 19th and 20th century, British and US, advanced the argument that civilization of English-speaking nations was superior to that of any other nation because of the racial traits and characteristics inherited from the Anglo-Saxon invaders of Britain. I wonder if they call them Norman invaders or settlers. In 2017, Mary Dockeray Miller, an American scholar of Anglo-Saxon England, stated that there was an increase in interest in the study of Anglo-Saxonism in the 19th century. Anglo-Saxonism is regarded as a predecessor ideology to the later Nordicism of the 20th century, which was generally less anti-Celtic and broadly sought to racially reconcile Celtic identity with Germanic under the label of Nordic. Well, I did notice from some of my quick checks that the Celts and the Germanic tribes worked together to bring down the Roman Empire, or the Roman Republic it might have been at that time, I don't know. So they have seemed to have this connection between them for a very long time, cooperation at least. So the origins of Anglo-Saxonism. In 1647, English MP John Hare, who served during the Long Parliament, issued a pamphlet declaring England as a member of the Teutonic nation and descended out of Germany. In the context of the English Civil War, this anti-Norman and pro-Germanic paradigm has been identified as perhaps the earliest iteration of English Teutonism by Professor Nick Groom. So this is anti-Norman. So it seems to be, and this is what I was curious of, is it the Normans who are using it to demoralise the Anglo-Saxons, or those who are descendants of, or is it a genuine order set up by the Teutonic race, or is it set up by the Teutonic race but has been infiltrated by the Normans? I don't know. I mean, these are sort of things which I'm curious about because I'm seeing it happen today, and I have to wonder if a lot of things have been infiltrated. Who suggested the 1714 Hanoverian succession, where the German House of Hanover ascended the throne of Great Britain, is the culmination of his Anglo-Saxonist ideology. Well, the Germans are definitely in the seat of the throne in the UK. There's not anyone who's British. You're not getting the Celts in there. And then obviously they're saying that the Teutonic race is in succession. Okay, the Teutonic germ theory. I mean, I've got to process this and everything and see where my questions lead me next, because I'm always asking questions. Many historians and political scientists in Britain and the United States supported it. The theory supposed that American and British democracy and institutions had their roots in Teutonic peoples, and that Germanic tribes had spread this germ within their race from ancient Germany to England and on to North America, which I suspect is true. Advocacy in Britain included the likes of John Mitchell Kemble, within the US, in the 1890s, under the influence of Frederick Jackson Turner, Wilson abandoned the Teutonic germ theory in favour of the frontier model of American democracy. And we've read that before, and it made me laugh because American democracy is basically slaughtering people. And that might have been what the Teutonic germ theory was doing. You know, in America they're killing people in order to get freedom and to fight for democracy and freedom, whereas and I feel that stemmed from the Norman invasion and the Normans, but I just don't know whether the Normans are using this Teutonic order to demoralise what might have been a very peaceful group, and it might not have been. I don't know. I've got to look into it, and I've bought some more books about it because I don't trust the internet. The reason why I've got these old books is because you can see here that it gets edited all the time. Sometimes I've gone onto Wikipedia having read a page, then I return 2 weeks later and it's completely different. So this is why I don't look on the internet, because everything gets edited, and it might get edited without comment, and so I want to stick to antique books. But I don't believe what the professors are telling us about this either. And this is the difficult point that we're having, really. I'm having. Norman fathers had learned to speak a stranger's language, yet in blood, as we know, they were the Saxons' brethren, both alike belonging to the Teutonic or German stock. I mean, you've got to say, there's a lot of wars surrounding Germany. Neither they hate the Germans or the Germans are causing it, and I don't know that I believe everything that I'm hearing about these world wars either. I think that what I'll say about that is that in school I was taught that the World War II was about Hitler doing a land grab, and he just wanted to grab all of Europe. And what I learned in my law degree was that the World War II was an ideological war, and it turns out that the communists won. They managed to get all of Europe, didn't they? Or most of it. The Eastern Bloc. And they turned that into a communist area, which they claim collapsed, but I think it just turned into the EU. So is this like... And one of the things I know I've mentioned before about Tartaria is that the Tartarians came from Khazaria, or whatever it is down there in the sort of Turkish area, and that's where the Ashkenazis come from. So is there trouble brewing between these two groups? And if so, what and why? And does it go back to the Bible? Does it go back to like Cain and Abel, or does it go back to all these different wars which were had through the Bible? Is this what it's about? And that's what's so interesting. I'm just going to be looking into it, but it's just interesting, I guess. Anglo-Saxonism was largely aligned with Protestantism, generally perceiving Catholics as outsiders, and was oriented as an ideology in opposition to other races such as the Celts of Ireland and Latins of Spain. Right, okay. Anyway, because this is such a new subject to me, I felt that I wanted to ask a few more questions about it and just have a mind diarrhea over it, because I just want to know. I've got too many questions about it, and I've never heard of this race, and it fits in with this demoralisation which we're experiencing today, and that's why I have to sort of keep questioning this, because there's no way that I can just put this down at the moment, because I nothing in my history class made sense in school, and I didn't do well in history because I questioned things too much and they didn't like it, and they'd mark me down for it. Well, I still have those questions. They've not been answered, but I have learned that a lot of what I learnt in school was not completely true at all. It wasn't a land grab, it was an ideological war, and I had no idea about that until I was in my 30s. So how ridiculous is that? Of course people are going to start questioning these sorts of things if they realise that they've been lied to. Okay, well, that's all I wanted to look into, really. I wanted to question, was it a psyop, a demoralisation warfare thing, or was it real and they've been forcing their belief systems onto people? I would say that with the way that people are today, it's probably a demoralisation thing, because if the Normans invaded and took over, then there will always be people who go back to their roots and their ancestors, and that's where their hearts and minds are at, and they're not with the Normans. And so I think there is a need by those who have ownership over these nations. They need to make sure that they demoralise those people and make them think badly about their ancestors. There's that absolute need, and we're seeing it today, and that's why I'm questioning it. Okay, thank you for listening. If you got all the way through, thank you, and leave a comment, subscribe, share and subscribe. Thank you.